Mike. I'm from Mayor's Youth Council. Hey, David.
Come on here, little buddy. You just don't time.
Introduce yourself.
My name is Davin Ratliff, and I'm part of the Mayor's Youth Council. Yes, sir.
All right, if you'll all bow your heads. Dear Lord, thank you for just having us all here to gather today, and thank you for everything you've given us. I just ask for your wisdom in this time, and that you'll guide every discussion here, and that it'll all be to the glory of your name. In your name I pray. Amen.
All right, I'm leading pledge. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Come on in. Got a seat on the front row if you'd like it. Again, thank you for coming out tonight. All right, I'd like to open it up now for public comment. Is there anyone in the audience or board would you like to make public comment concerning anything? Hello, sir. Come on in. Sit down. You looking for somebody in particular? All right. Seeing no one to speak for public comment, we'll move on through the agenda. Need a motion to approve the regular board meeting minutes of June the 7th, 2021. Motion by Mr. Chris Vinson. Second by Mr. Harry Williams. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. And please keep Miss Monica Corley in your prayers as she travels today. Y'all come on in. We'll wait till you get sat down somewhere. Yeah, that's right. Get you an agenda and just find you a chair. Got some more over here on the front row. And you don't want to sit on the front row? All right. You ready, Mr. Baker? As we work through the agenda. All right. Everybody settled? You good? Okay. All right, item 5 on the agenda under the mayor. Number 1, consideration to approve a professional services agreement with Environments Management Plus Incorporated for inspection services at the old cement plant on Marquette Road in an amount of $4,250. Item 2 is request permission to transfer Angela Pryor from Senior Services to the mayor's office to serve as special assistant to the mayor. Adopt the job description as such attached and set rate of pay effective July 1st, 2021 in accordance with the memo. And Miss Angela's in the back of the room back there learning what Jeff has been doing. And item 3, consideration to hire Miss Deetra Gaines as a Senior Services Coordinator effective July 1st, 2021 and set rate of pay pursuant to the memo. Miss Deetra, you want to stand up and make sure that everybody's got your looks? Okay. Thank you, Miss Deetra. Thank you for coming. And I'm sure stick around. The board would like to say hello to you before you get done. And back, Mr. Baker says on the number 1, subject to the approval of the Rankin County Board of Supervisors. Correct. Okay, so we like to read all of our agenda items. Items 1 through 3, is there a motion to approve those 3 items? Motion by Ms. Talia Dobbs. Second. Who said that? Second by Mr. Lou Coker. Any further discussion on those 3 items? All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, like sign. Thank you. All right, Miss Angela. Yes, ma'am. You may, for live streaming, you have to go to the microphone though. Sorry. It's okay. It'll feedback on it. We'll figure it out later.
Okay, the first item is rescind board action taken on June 7th, 2021 under section 6.3 with regard to the approval of Trailer Park Inc. agreement representing Jamie Johnson's performance at the Brandon Amphitheater. Number 2, consideration to approve amphitheater performance agreements and authorize the mayor to execute the same and approve all related expenses for Regina Roberts on July 8th, 2021. Trailer Park, Inc., representing Jamie Johnson on July 8th, 2021. Tower Top Tours, Inc., representing ZZ Top on August 1st, 2021. Counter Productions, Inc., representing Foreigner on November 14th, 2021. Number 3, spread onto the minutes the official results from the general election held on June the 8th. Number 4, consideration to adopt the following resolutions regarding the sewer rehabilitation project on Mora and Ora Drive. Is CDBG Project 1136-20-128, and authorize the mayor to execute the same. Number 5, consideration to approve the docket of claims for June 9 and June 22nd, and the Fox Everett claims released on June 17.
Thank you, Ms. Angela. And board, that late edition of number 4 just came in, as many things do after 5 o'clock and after the agendas went out last week. All right, so any questions on items 1 through 5 under the city clerk? Is there a motion to approve those 5 items? Motion by Mr. Lou Coker. Second by Mr. Chris Vinson. Any questions or comment? All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, like sign. Thank you, Ms. Angela.
Good evening, Mayor, Board.
Good evening.
Mayor, I have 7 items. Permission to take those together.
Please.
Thank you. Item 1 is consideration to approve Hempfield Construction Company pay request number 4 in the amount of $59,813.91 and authorize payment of the same with regard to the Boyce Thompson Bike Lane project. Item 2 is consideration to approve Kipco Incorporated pay request number 5 in the amount of $31,815.50 and authorize payment of the same with regard to the 2020 Waterline Improvements Project, Burnham Road and Old Lakeland Drive. Item 3 is consideration to approve change order number 3 for the 2020 sewer rehabilitation project in the amount of $30,750 for a revised contract total amount of $1,140,154. There is a typo in there. There's a 1 that was added. We'll correct that. Yet there's a 1 right behind the 140.
Mr. Baker.
Item 4 is consideration to accept quotes received for window sealing repair work at the Brandon Municipal Complex and Library and award to J.G. and Associates as the lowest and best quote received in the total amount of $10,445. Item 5 is consideration to approve invoices from WW Solutions LLC and authorize payment of the same for emergency work performed at Pecan Circle at Post Oak in the amount of $7,796.48 and 33 and 35 Stonegate in the amount of $6,625.84. Item 6 is accept letter of retirement from Eddie Walton effective June 30, 2021, and item 7 is accept the letter of retirement from Mike Harvey effective June 30, 2021.
Thank you, Charles. 7 items, board. Is there a motion to approve those? Motion by Mr. Harry Williams. Second by Ms. Talia Dobbs. Comments or questions? All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, like sign.
Thank you.
Hey, Mayor,
Yes, sir.
the latest completion date on the downtown,
Go back to the microphone. Speak. So. Matt.
It is set at July 20.
Okay. Sure, if you'd like.
Good evening. You ready for me?
Jeff, can you hear him speaking in the microphone? Okay.
All right, I have four items, permission to take all four separate, 3 public hearings and an additional item.
Right.
All right, so item 1A is public hearing and board action with regard to the consideration of conditional use application request for Ricky Babber for 3 acres of parcel 18A-3.
Matthew, can you advise the board as to whether all the prerequisites of the public hearing have been met?
Yes, they have.
Was the matters presented to the planning commission?
It was.
Did you receive a recommendation from the planning commission?
Recommendation was to approve the request pursuant to the staff report.
Okay. And with regard to the process before the planning commission, during the time that it was pending there, did you receive any particular written or verbal opposition to the proposed conditional use application?
I did receive a phone call from Stephen Roberts, and I believe they are in attendance tonight.
Okay. So with regard to this particular application, did community development complete a staff report?
Yes.
And does that include all of the publication notice, all the information and things
Yes,
that's
it does.
necessary? Are you asking that the staff report be appended as part of the public hearing, which is occurring in this case?
Yes, sir.
All right. With regard to the staff report, can you generally describe the nature of the application and the recommendation of community development in the planning commission?
The applicant, Ricky Babber, is requesting to get a conditional use permit from the board to construct a convenience store on the 3-acre tract of land. It is zone NC, which does require conditional use approval for the use of a convenience store.
Okay. And has community development looked at the elements of section 9.7 of the city's zoning ordinance with regard to the board's consideration of conditional use applications?
Yes.
And what is your what were your findings with regard to that? What is the opinion of staff with regard to those elements in relation to this application?
We find that the applicant does meet the criteria for the granting of the conditional use. Further, we do recommend approval of the conditional use. We do have 2 contingencies: that one, the applicant get MDOT approval for access off of 18, and then also that the existing vegetation and trees be left along the south portion of the property line, and also install a privacy fence along the south property line.
Okay, are those recommendations and conditions as you described included within your staff report?
Yes.
Okay. And have you talked to the applicant about those conditions?
Yes, the applicant has agreed to those conditions.
Okay. At this time, we'll ask for those in favor of or in opposition of the conditional use request to come forward and speak. We've got the application's information, the applicant's information, which is contained in the staff report. So unless there's something in addition to what's been provided in the staff report, we don't necessarily need the applicant. The applicant's more than welcome to come speak, but there may be some questions for the applicant after the public hearing is done from the board. So we'll ask for those in opposition to the conditional use request to come forward and speak. And if you would, come to the podium and state your name and then just tell us what you have to say.
Mayor, Alderman, my name is Stephen Roberts, and I'm here today with my mother, Betty Roberts, who owns the house at 350 Whitfield Road that the convenience store would be adjacent to. My mom's 93, and she's lived in that house for 55 of the more than 60 years she's lived in Brandon. And we're asking that you vote this conditional use permit down. Now, we recognize this property is zoned commercial. We didn't have a choice in that when 18 came through. That was just the deal. But I don't think a lot of you would welcome, as your next door neighbor, no matter how nice the developer is, a 3-complex, 15,000 square foot combination gas station, convenience store, and strip mall. I just don't think you would. Especially if you've lived there for about half a century, as my mom has. The unfortunate thing about this is there are 3 other corners that could have been chosen. One directly across 468 that has no housing. one across the street that's owned by the same seller who could have done the same deal with them that's not as close to a dwelling as my mom's house, and then one catty-cornered. So there are three choices, one of which is owned by the same seller that could have done the same 3-acre parcel subdivision, and by the way, done it with less landfill that's going to require at my mom's place. So the developer and seller could have done the same deal, and they probably still could, because I believe this sale is in fact conditional on the zoning approvals that would be required to do this transaction. Now, the plan states that there's going to be a fence in the back of this 3-building, 15,000 square foot convenience store, gas station, strip mall, and I have no doubt that the city will execute that plan in accordance with the zoning. However, when the trees drop their foliage, my mother is going to have a bird's eye view of the back end of what I hope will be a nice privacy fence, if this exists, of the convenience store. And again, I ask you, is that what you guys want in your backyard? So if this gets built, I mean, also to keep in mind, we're not moving next to the convenience store. We've been here. We've been here for 50-plus years. So if this gets built, that generates some additional concerns for us. We don't know how this proposed MDOT work for ingress and egress is going to work. That's TBD, I think. We don't know, in fact, as you look at that area, it's a bowl. We don't know when the fill that is going to be required to be placed in there happens, what's going to happen to the drainage on the back of my mom's place. We don't know that. We don't know whether at some point there's going to be pressure or a proceeding to drive access to 468. I know this, in February, the developer called my brother and me and asked for access, and we said no. So since that time, of course, we didn't hear anything about the development until, of course, we got the formal notice, which is why we're here tonight. And we don't have any axe to grind with the developer at all. I'm sure he's a nice guy, and he's probably here in the audience. We don't have any axe to grind with the city. You know, Brandon's been a great place for our family. In fact, my dad, who was a doctor here, moved here in the late 50s. He owned the Rankin County Hospital, closed it voluntarily so the Rankin Medical Center could start, and then was chief of staff there, medical staff, for many years. So Brandon's a great place. My point in all this is we think there are a lot better places to site a 3-building, 15,000 square foot strip mall combination gas station convenience store. Better than my mom's house. It would be one thing if the C-store had owned that land for 55 years, and we came to the nuisance, as land use people say. But that's not what's happening here. We've owned that place for 55 years, and these guys are coming in, and we're concerned about that's going to change the character of her place for the for the rest of her time that she's going to be here. So that's why we're asking you to vote this down. And I know my mom would probably like to say a couple of words about this.
Well, I've been here a long time, and I have a lot of good memories with this place. And I love this place and all of you. And I'm hoping that I can be here a little bit longer. And having that kind of thing would not be happy for me, because, you know, it's right there, and it would be right there behind me, and I could see them. and I really hope that they will decide to put it at a different place. There's so many other places if they could have this place where there's no house. So I'm hoping that they will do that.
Is there anyone else here who desires to speak in opposition? Is there anyone else here who desires to speak or provide any public comment with regard to the application? Does the applicant wish to express anything additional to the board in addition to what's in the application?
Good evening, sir. My name is Rick Babber, and we are applying the 3-acre beside Miss, I forgot her name, Miss Robinson. I'm sorry, I'm a little nervous. This is the first time I've ever done this. I mean, I'm a little nervous on this. So I'll excuse if I make any mistakes, I apologize. But yeah, I mean, I agree that I don't want anybody to put a convenience store back behind my backyard, which is, I agree on that. But when city developed this highway, they did the zoning for a purpose to develop that corner. They didn't leave that there to just have green trees and all that. I respect her that she's been there for 50-some years. If I would have been in my house, yes, I don't want nobody to come close to me, but there is a piece of tract is owned by the same family. It's about, I think, 20 or 30 acres between that house and the place we're developing. So there will be some trees left in there for her property and our property. And we just want to come and develop it. And I think that corner has a lot of potential. And we did everything to the city, it's going to be nice buildings out there for it's going to be almost like $3.4 million project that we're doing to develop that corner to help that area to grow in that area. So, me and Mr. Matt have worked the design of the building, the way it's going to be, proposed. We actually leaving extra setback requirements than because it's required for the city. I think they only require like 20-some feet. We're doing 25 plus a fence to just keep the privacy and keep up with it in the long run. So we have done everything to the city spec and everything what they wanted. But to go back to their answer, yes, I don't want convenience store by my house, but I live in Germantown subdivision. And there's a lot of things changing in Germantown, Madison County area, which I don't like, but I can't control over because when they put that Calhoun Parkway station there, they made that to be a development area. They want this commercial stuff to come there, the dealerships, Rick's Pro Truck and all that. I can't tell them, hey, I don't like it and I don't want anything behind my yard because city have done that for a reason. The Highway 18 zone commercial for a reason to develop it, and that's what I want to do. I want to go ahead and develop it like it needs to be. And that's all I want to say. I understand where they're coming from. I respect that, but I'm just, if that's the case, we're doing everything according to the city, what they want us to do to develop that corner. That's all. And I'm sorry if I made any mistake. I apologize. Like I said, I'm a little nervous. I'm shaking up a little bit too. So I apologize if I made any mistakes or hurt anybody. I'm sorry. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who desires to speak? Yes, sir? Hold on. Yes, sir.
I'm Mark Warren. I have Mark Warren Real Estate, and I represent the sellers of this property. In fact, these owners have property on both sides of Highway 18 all the way down to Sunchase. And we've been trying to market this property for probably 2.5 years. I've seen my signs out there forever. And even before that, they were trying to be marketed. And during this period of time, Brandon rezoned this to residential commercial zoning, or neighborhood commercial zoning, I apologize, which it even mentioned, if you just read through just the overview in that zoning, that convenience stores are in that zoning, of course, with a conditional use. My biggest thing is there's got to be a catalyst out here to get this thing started. Until we get a catalyst out on Highway 18, and there are a few pieces that have come along on 18, but you've really got to find something that's going to be a catalyst to start this part of 18 to develop. I think this is an opportunity. I think that certainly the city has control on what's going to go there, how it's going to be maintained. The way it's drawn right now, if I'm not mistaken, there's only one entrance, and that is off of 18, and it's even well away from the intersection, a good ways down from the intersection. So this is a very narrow piece of commercial property on this side of Highway 18 all the way to Sunchase, and there's only limited uses you're going to be able to put on there. So retail is really the best use of this property, just my own personal opinion. I just wanted to leave y'all with that thought. Thank you.
Is there anyone else who desires to speak? Mr. Morris?
Yes, my name's Ted Morris. I believe that y'all would agree with me that Ms. Roberts' property value will go down if this happens.
I'm going to put you down for opposition. Okay. Is there anyone else here who desires to speak with regard to the proposed application? Seeing none, Mr. Mayor, I'd ask that the public hearing be closed.
Thank you. Okay. All right, Mr. Dodd, you have anything else to shed on this? All right, board, you got any questions?
I do.
All right, let's take them
Okay.
one at a time. Chris first.
This parcel right here, do they have access to 468?
I don't know, you're gonna have to, remember, you got a
they do
microphone
not.
and you're live streaming, so you're gonna have to speak to the microphone. So the question was, do they have access to 468? And the answer was?
No.
Okay. Further? That it?
I just want to make a comment.
Okay.
The whole purpose of Highway 18, the bypass, was to redirect traffic around town. One of the things that was brought to our attention when we were doing the comprehensive plan was they said that you can look at all these bypasses, and from year 1 to 5 to 8 to 10, people start developing convenience stores and things like that along those routes. It ends up defeating the purpose, because then all of a sudden you have all these intersections that they're making traffic stop and go. And I think there's a reason that it's not zoned for convenience stores.
Done? Any more? Any further?
Just what it's zoned for is a softer, less traffic type business area.
Do you have something?
I was going to say the same thing that Chris was talking about. I don't think we need things cut up. And you said we'd have MDOT to come in and do a curb cut, right, or something, or an entryway. And if we keep doing this and you have a little 3-acre spot, I mean, whatever, how many acres it is spot, I agree with Chris. That's kind of maybe defeating our purpose there. We do need to develop this place. We have to figure out some kind of way to do it, and maybe this is a catalyst. But I don't like the idea of it being cut up.
I guess explain what do you mean by cut up, like the.
I mean, if this develops here, maybe another one will develop. So I think what Chris is trying to say is, how are you going to get in there? You're going to have to come off 18 every time, in all these places, and there's so much traffic there now, unless until when but it gets 4 lanes, it's going to be a quagmire.
I
In my
will say
opinion.
this. I don't mean to interrupt you. I'm not for it because of the traffic. But if the board decides to approve it, I would like to add a right turn in and a right turn out only on this. If someone's coming up 18 and wanting to turn left, they're stopping traffic.
Okay.
A prime example is Bank Plus downtown, the Chevron downtown, people trying to turn against the traffic, they're stopping there. I just think there's too much traffic to try to cross that.
All right. Done? Anything else? Either of you? Harry, come.
So everything that I'm seeing in front of the property is MDOT right-of-way.
That's correct.
So MDOT would not allow access
Bless you.
off of 468?
Well, the property itself does not have access to 468, so there's no way to bring access unless they were able to acquire more property.
I know. So anything that develops there is going to have access from 18, no matter what it is.
That property has an existing access point. When the road was planned, they provided the access point. And then at some point, whoever developed it will have to go to MDOT to get the permit to determine what improvements are needed to be made at that access point. Whether that be a dedicated left turn on 18 to have a left turn into the property, it's going to be based on their requirements and their manual for approving those things.
So I'm not being, the point is, we won't really have any say-so in the design of MDOT's access, will we?
Well, they typically do speak to the city about it, but but it's their permit, so they have the authority to approve it or deny it.
Okay.
Done, Chris, Harry, Lou, any other thought? All right. Ty? Okay. All right. So without further comment, then we'll put it before the board to approve or deny this request. You good, Mr. Baker? Any further from you? Okay. All right, waiting for the board. All right. So item 1A, is there a motion to approve item 1A? All right, hearing none, is there a motion to deny?
I'll make a motion to deny based on concern for traffic in and out.
So that'd be 9.7A, you don't feel like the applicant, based on the information presented, you're not satisfied that sufficient information with regard to ingress and egress to the property and proposed structures thereon with reference to the vehicular and pedestrian traffic, safety and convenience, traffic flow and control, and access in case of fire catastrophe has been properly addressed and presented to the board.
All right. So we have a motion to deny. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Lou Coker. All right. Any further discussion from the board? Comment or question? Okay. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, like sign. All right. So item 6A is denied with a vote of 6-0. Now we'll go to B.
All right. Item B is public hearing and board action with regard to the consideration of a rezoning request for Bono's Homes LLC for parcel I-9-1-10 and I-9-2-10.
Matthew, can you advise the board as to whether all of the prerequisites of the public hearing have been met?
Yes, they have.
Was the matter presented to the planning commission?
It was.
What was the recommendation of the planning commission?
Recommendation was to approve the rezoning request pursuant to the staff report.
And the Community Development Department prepared a staff report in this matter?
Yes.
And it contains all of the information, the application, the notice of hearing, and the matters before the planning commission, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Are you asking that the staff report be incorporated as part of the public hearing in this matter?
Yes.
Would you generally describe for the board the nature of the application?
Bo Draca, or Bono's Homes LLC, is requesting to rezone portions of the 24.64 acre parcels. They are currently zoned a combination of RR and R12, and he's requesting to rezone some interior portions of that R12 to RR. There is an existing gas line that bisects the property. The request is to rezone the portions north of the gas line from R12 to RR, and south of the gas line from RR to R12.
Okay. It's essentially a swap of property and
It's
zoning?
a swap.
And staff's position on this is?
To recommend approval of the rezoning request.
The basis for that being?
We found that the site conditions, mainly the gas line, that was not known during the time of the adoption of the drafting of the rezoning map. We did not know that at the time, and we feel like that was an error. Had we known that at the time, we probably would have made the zoning boundary run along that gas line.
Okay. So it makes the property somewhat unworkable and undevelopable?
Yes.
Okay. Developable? Okay. All right, at this time, you've heard a general explanation of the application. Is there anyone here who desires to speak in favor of or in opposition to the application for rezoning? Anybody? We've got a hand and a Mississippi State mask.
Real quick, I did want to add that I did receive a phone call from.
I'm sorry, I didn't ask
That's
you. I
okay.
apologize.
One of the residents adjacent to the property, she was not able to attend tonight. She didn't necessarily express opposition, but she did have concerns about the subdivision, and she would like to be informed if the board approves this request, kind of to know what's going on with the subdivision during
Okay.
our review process.
Okay, thank you. Yes, ma'am, if you'd state your name. Tammy Bryant.
Yeah. I live next door to this property, and my concern is looking at the
I'm sorry, I should have.
I'm sorry, I
talked this
forgot to
earlier.
move
Jeff, I know you can't hear. Matt, you got.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, it's not.
It's not you.
No, it's our fault.
You don't have a mic.
You didn't have a mic, and we live stream. I want to make sure anybody.
Okay.
can hear.
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure that there's some type of privacy between the new construction and my existing new home. You know, I just want to make sure that they're going to be like a 10-foot privacy fence or something over where he's cut all these trees and just raping the land. I just want to make sure that there's some kind of a privacy there.
Okay. Anything else, Ms. Bryant?
Now, I wish you wouldn't build, but that's okay.
Thank you. Thank
That's
you.
all.
And what's your address, Ms. Bryant? I'm sorry.
158. My father actually sold this land many years ago. And, you know, they rezoned it initially for the type of the size of the houses. And I'm afraid if it's rezoned to a smaller or to a different zone, that they can build much smaller homes.
Yes, ma'am.
So-
158.
Luckney, Luckney.
Got it. Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else who desires to speak in favor of or in opposition to the application? Anyone? Seeing none, Mr. Mayor, that's the public hearing be closed.
All right, public hearing's closed. Mr. Dodd, do you want to grab your microphone again? Told you should have just stayed out there. Yes, I think the applicant is here. All right, anything, you have
I don't
any
have
further?
anything further to add.
Okay, board. This is in Ward 3. So, board, you have questions, comments?
I do.
Who? Lou?
Me.
Okay, go ahead.
Matt, can you explain to the lady that just spoke to us about the square footage?
So the applicant is proposing to do two separate subdivisions. Subdivision on the north of the gas line, which would access off of Bentley, is zoned RR. I believe the applicant intends on building 2,000 square foot plus homes in that. He can certainly address the board and correct me if I'm mistaken. The R12, which is south of the gas line, which would be accessed off of Luckney, that has 1,800 square foot minimums, so there'll be 18 plus.
Okay, Harry?
But the majority of that property is already zoned R12.
Correct. The majority of the property north of the gas line is currently zoned RR, and the majority of the property south of the gas line is currently zoned R12. The rezoning only impacts like 4 acres or so, a little over 4 acres total.
Matt, can you address her concern about privacy? Is there something going to be there? I mean, are we going to require fences, or is it not, or?
I have not had that discussion with the applicant. I do not know if the applicant intends on doing a perimeter privacy fence around the whole development or not. He's here. I don't know if he wants to address the board.
When it's residential against residential, it's not.
You do not, it's not a requirement, correct? Yep.
Ladies and gentlemen, how y'all doing today? All right, like Matt says, north side is gonna be 15 minimum requirements on the north side of the pipeline. We're gonna be probably from 16 to 2,000 square feet on the north side. On the south side, it's 18 minimal. The lots are so deep, when we build the houses, 90% of people are gonna want a privacy fence anyway. And I will probably leave some trees along the line to kind of get a privacy for everybody around.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Any further from the board? Comment or question? Okay. Hang on.
My name is Linda Chalk. I live on off
Mr.
of Bentley on Matthew.
Did you get a last
My one concern, I think, the houses they're building off of Bentley, the construction, how's that construction coming in to build these houses? Is it going to come down Bentley?
The subdivision construction, so construction of the
Okay, just a FYI, the water line is in the middle of Bentley.
I'm not sure which water line it is. Well, we haven't got
Okay.
it.
Well, I'm just saying, if they're doing, if their construction traffic is coming down Bentley, the water line is in the middle of the street. We found that out several years ago. My second concern is, you're talking about the privacy fences. If you don't have something at the back of these houses by the pipeline, and the other neighborhood over there also, you're going to have people coming over. We're a small subdivision. We've been there a long time. We don't have crime, thank you, God. We don't want it. We don't want crime. I don't have anything against them building. But my concern is safety, because most of the neighbors out there are like me, they're old. And we concerned about our safety out there. But like I said, I have no problem with the construction or building these houses there. It's our safety that I'm concerned about. And two, if they tear up our road, because I have to come down Bentley to go back and forth, and we like our neighborhood actually like it is. One way in, one way out.
Thank you, Ms. Linda.
Ms. Shaw, what was your street address at Bentley?
211 Matthew Drive.
Thank you.
All right, thank you for those comments. All right, you gonna get the microphone back? I'll wait on you to get back over there.
Mr. Williams made a motion. Mr. Williams, is
Hang
that?
on, yeah, go
I
ahead.
need to clarify, you're finding that the criteria of section 9.8.4 of the city zoning ordinance has been established by the requisite standard?
Okay, so we've got a motion to approve. Is there a second? Second by Mr. James Morris. Any further discussion, comment, or question from the board? All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, like sign. Thank you. Okay, that motion passes. All right, item C.
Matthew, can you advise the board as to whether all the prerequisites to the public hearing with regard to the application of the city of Brandon have been met?
You may read it first.
We're talking about the amendments to the city of Brandon's official zoning map?
Yes. We can go ahead. I just hadn't read it. I hadn't read it yet.
Okay.
Oh.
Is that what you're going to read, what I just said?
Yeah, I'm going to read it real quick.
Okay.
The public hearing and board action with regard to the consideration of amendments to the city of Brandon official zoning map. Sorry.
We good? We good?
We good.
All right. Sorry. And so, with regard to this, can you advise whether all the prerequisites to the public hearing have been met?
Yes, they have.
Was the matter presented to the planning commission?
Yes, it was.
During the pendency of the planning commission, did you receive any written or verbal opposition to the proposed rezonings?
No.
Okay. And can you generally describe the nature of the application by the city in this regard?
There are multiple City of Brandon zoning map amendments. One of the amendments is out on West Sunset, which affects 3 parcels, H8H-2620, which is 720 West Sunset Drive, H8H-29, which is 716 West Sunset, and parcel H8H-2630. That is to correct a manifest error. It was improperly zoned residential. That property should be commercial. NC, Neighborhood Center. And then there are other multiple, which is publicly owned property. We're recommending that those be rezoned to ORC, which is the zoning designation for public property in Brandon.
Okay. Just a little slower on the West Sunset Drive. Can you tell the audience generally what we're doing from what to what?
The property is currently zoned RR. There's 3 pieces of property, and we're recommending that those be rezoned to NC, which is Neighborhood Center Commercial.
Okay. And those are all 3 the Sunset Drive properties?
That's correct.
And everything else is government property, either owned or under lease?
That is correct.
Or to be under lease?
Yes.
Okay. Having heard a general description of the proposed application, is there anybody here who desires to make any public comment with regard to the same? For or against, other than Mr. Dodd? Seeing none, Mr. Mayor, that's at the public hearing. Oh, let me Are you asking that the staff report and all of its attachments be incorporated into the matter of the public hearing?
Yes.
Record of the public hearing, I'm
Yes.
sorry. Thank you. Mr. Mayor, I'd ask now that the public hearing be closed.
All right, board, public hearing is closed. Is there a motion to approve those requests from community development? Oh, got questions. Okay.
720 Sunset, are all the Sunset properties?
Yes.
You're asking to go from rural neighborhood to neighborhood center? Neighborhood center, does that allow multifamily housing?
Neighborhood center, no, it does not.
All right. Is there a motion to approve? Motion by Mr. Lou Coker. Second by Mr. Harry Williams.
Mr. Coker, your motion includes the finding that the criteria set forth in section 9.8.4 of the city zoning ordinance has been established by the requisite standard. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Baker. All right, we got a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion, comment, or question? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. Thank you.
All right, item 2 is consideration to approve the Director of Community Development or his or her designee to make determinations as to whether a property or a parcel of land in the city of Brandon meets the requirements of MCA Section 21-1911, Section 2.
You may want to slowly express what this is about. please.
So it's 21-1911, which is cleaning of property. This subsection 2, the law was changed recently. It used to only qualify municipalities with a population of 25,000 or more residents. It was recently changed to allow for municipalities with 1,500 or more residents. So we now qualify for it. It's an expedited process to clean nuisance properties. We have to declare that it is basically a nuisance, a threat to public health and safety and welfare. And then we have to notify the property owner, post the property, go through our noticing provisions, but we only have a 7-day requirement to notify. We do not have to have the public hearings like we do with the other section for cleaning of property. So it's an expedited process, and you're basically designated, me or a designee, to determine those properties and then go through the process.
Mr. Baker?
I just want to point out that these are just small cleans. This is everything under $250, and it has to be 1 acre or less. So these are basically grass cutting cleanups, okay? These are not tear downs, things like that. All that will come back before the board. This is just small, quick, get it done kind of thing.
And if you would add to that, Mr. Baker, the cost or the expense of the taxpayer money on that to be recouped?
Yes, the cost on that it has to be $250 or less. There are some penalties that you can add in addition to that, and then you can do it up to X number of times a year.
I think it's 6 times a year, up to $1,000.
Right. So if you have a perpetual problem with a yard that you've got to get cut, you come back. They don't even have to provide additional notice in that regard. They can come back. Now, when it's all done, you'll get a packet from community development. It'll say, this is the day we provided them notice. This is the day they received it. This is the day we did the cleanup. This is how much it costs. This is what we'd like you to do, is assess as a penalty and move forward, just like you would a normal cleanup. And then it'll be done, and then it'll be a lien on the property.
Okay. Got that? All right. Is there a motion to approve? Motion by Ms. Talia Dove, second by Mr. Chris Benson. Comments or questions? All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, like sign. Thank you. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Under Parks, accept donation in the amount of $25 from Brenda Gale and Danny Wall, made in memoriam of Ernest James Adams, Jr. Is there a motion to accept that donation? Motion by Mr. Lou Coker. Second by Mr. Harry Williams. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, like sign. And item 10. Good evening, Chief.
I only have one item, so I'm going to take that one. Consideration to approve change of employment status for Battalion Chief Gary Hune from full-time to part-time firefighter and adjust the rate of pay effective July 2nd, 2021 in accordance with the memo.
Thank you, Chief. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Harry Williams. Second by Mr., who said that? Dwight Middleton. All in favor say aye. All opposed, like sign. Thank you, Chief. Now I would like to, will only entertain a motion to adjourn from Alderman at Large James Morris, if he is so inclined to make that motion. Thank you, sir. Appreciate your service and your time, and we have a second with Mr. Lou Coker. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, like sign. Thank you very much. Thank you, audience. Appreciate you being here. Jeff, you good?